Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs postgame show podcast. It's a Friday afternoon. The sun is out in beautiful Chicago. The Cubs were red hot, and they were cooled off by the Atlanta Braves, the best team in baseball, best record in baseball, Atlanta, and they played like it today. Luke Stuckmeyer, Cody Delmendo. Craig in the chat has already joined and said very uninspired. Yeah, that was not... that did not continue the vibes for very long, Cody.
For 3 innings, I think we got it.
Yeah, for 3 innings, good vibes.
Good vibes. You know,
the rest of the way, not so much.
Credit to Max Fried, man. We were hoping there'd be some rust.
No
Dude
rust.
didn't look like he had any rust.
No.
Man, I think we got a taste of where the Cubs are at, and we got a taste of where the Braves are at, right? Like,
yes.
We know the Cubs are a team that when they're clicking on all cylinders, I think they can compete with anyone, but they're just not. They don't consistently do that. They haven't consistently done that all year. That's why they're 2 games above 500. The Atlanta Braves are the best team in baseball. I think Boog said it best on the broadcast when he said something along the lines of Brian Snitker is rolling out the same lineup every single day. They know exactly where he knows where to put. He knows exactly where to put everyone in that lineup every single day, and it's in the same spot. That's when what happens when you have an MVP candidate in Acuna. Austin Riley might as well be an MVP candidate. He was last year. Olsen if it's not Ohtani, he has the most homers in baseball. Like, their number 9 hitter won the Rookie of the Year for the National League last year. They're a rocket ship, man. Like, if they're not in the World Series this year, I'll be surprised.
And they just got Max Fried back after coming off the 60-day injured list with a forearm issue. I mean, the offense, the lineup he put out today, every player in the lineup had double-digit home runs.
Yeah.
Think about that.
I think they might lead baseball in home runs. I'm not sure if
they
but
do,
I wouldn't be surprised.
And they lead the National League in home runs. I believe runs scored since the All-Star break. Think of how the Cubs have pounded pitching since the All-Star break and have just been rolling. They scored more runs than the Cubs have. Mm-hmm. The Cubs just scored 20 in a game, 15. They're putting up huge numbers, averaging almost 12 a game in that series against the Reds, and the Braves have still scored more runs since the All-Star break because they are legit.
Yeah,
they're legit.
And that's all I'm saying. I always say this, when the Cubs lose a game like this, it doesn't hurt as bad as if you lose 3-1 or 3-2, something close, and you can look back in hindsight at managerial decisions or whatever, but it's like Kyle Hendricks was perfect for 3 innings, and then the second time through the lineup, the Braves teed off on him. Also, Hendricks definitely, he started having more mistakes, and that's why I said in pregame that some of that pressure of having to be perfect would be relieved off Kyle Hendricks if the Cubs were able to score early, and they had no chance up there against Max Fried today. He shoved it down their throats. Cubs didn't get their first hit till the 4th inning. I want to say it was Cody Bellinger hit a ground ball up the middle. Like, I don't even know. I bet I could count how many fly balls the Cubs hit on one hand. Like, it's just ugh. But it's just one game, and still got 2 more. And I know no one feels any confidence about winning the next 2, let alone one of the next 2. But, that's why we play the game, to find out, see what happens. And I think for the Cubs to even win these next 2, the pitching obviously has to be better, but obviously the offense has to be better. And I just felt like there were a lot of uncompetitive at bats today as well.
But I don't.
But I would give more credit to Fried. Than
I don't
else.
really hold it against him because of the way they've been playing.
Yeah.
I said before the game, so it's not second guessing. I didn't love the lineup defensively, but offensively, I didn't really have a problem with it. This is a good team, and
this is a good game that they sat Nico. Honestly,
yes, it is.
Yeah.
Somebody in the chat was saying, I think it was Brennan was saying, yeah, Hendricks needs to be gone at the end of next season. And hello to everybody in the chat, including Brennan. I disagree with that only because Hendricks has been pretty good. Like, you're not expecting Kyle Hendricks to be the ace of old, the guy that pitched Game 7 of the World Series. He's in a different place in his career.
Yeah.
And what he has given the Cubs since he's come back is more than you could really expect, in my opinion. In 11 of the 13 games he's pitched in this year, not including today, he had given up 3 runs or less. What more could you want from these days from a starting pitcher, from a guy who really should be like your 5th starter in your rotation, a 4 or a 5, okay? Mm-hmm. So to me, if he can deliver that on a consistent basis as a 4 or 5, even next year, I'm okay with that. Now, I know you have to have depth to back that up because he's older and he's more likely to get injured potentially because he's older and his body's a little more broken down. But today he wasn't able to hold the Braves to 3 runs or less. And that's why I said going into this, Kyle Hendricks was the key to this game. Kyle's the key to this game because when he's just off just a little bit, the results can be drastic. He has an ERA for his career probably now over 7 against the Atlanta Braves. Mm-hmm. He is very prone to a bunch of home runs when things are off, right? Like Kyle, you usually know pretty quickly. Now, in this case, the funny part is he went 9 up, 9 down. But they saw him once. They made adjustments, and he made mistakes, and they made him pay.
Yeah.
7 runs in that 4th inning. And super chat from Brennan, thank you. Cheers to a win tomorrow, boys. Thank you, appreciate it. And always welcome your comments.
I think there's some Braves fans in the chat too. Big of y'all to come in here and give us more views.
That's okay. Y'all. Yeah, we appreciate it. I wouldn't say the Braves are our hardcore rival of the Cubs.
Yeah, I mean,
But anyway,
congrats on getting rid of Chip Terry.
I'm not done with Kyle Hendricks in a Cubs uniform. I'm glad he wasn't traded at the deadline. Yep. I'm glad he's the carryover, although now they have 2 in Jamer from the 2016 World Series champion team. But I still think he has value. I just think you shouldn't be looking at him as a 1 or a 2 or a 3 in your rotation. And today was not his day. And you knew about it right away. The flip side is Hayden Wesneski came in and got the job done. He looked good.
Yeah, for his 3 innings. He gave up the homer to Riley, but other than that, he looked pretty good.
One home run. One
run, yeah.
He allowed you to get all the way to Barnhart.
Yeah.
And not burn the bullpen.
The one pro is that they really didn't burn much of any high leverage arms. I thought Kwas came in and had a nice inning. Got a ground ball to end the inning on a double play. I think he walked a guy and allowed a hit, but then got the double play ball he needed. I'm intrigued about him. Obviously, I think the Cubs are going to they're going to start him out using him in low leverage spots. But if he does well in those, I think he could potentially get more high leverage spots before the end of the year. At least that's what I hope. Because why else would you trade Nelson Velasquez for someone to just be a low leverage reliever? But yeah, Wesneski, back to him. I thought he looked good. Got some ground balls. And you went through the same lineup Kyle Hendricks went through. And we were kind of talking on the couch, like, is this guy going to get an opportunity? Is this guy going to get an opportunity, to be back in the rotation again before the end of the year? Or is he someone that's locked into being in the low rotation next year? And listen, it's been a rookie season for him. Like, I remember so many people so hyped about him coming out of spring, and I get it. He was great in the spring. He looked electric in the spring. But obviously, spring's different than real games, and you saw good and you saw bad. When I think about him as a starter, the good, I just think back to that start he had against the Marlins. I believe beginning of May. It was a really good start. Yeah, and he's also had bad starts. But out of the bullpen, he's been pretty good overall. There's not a lot to complain about him out of the bullpen. So I think the rest of this year, and that, I'd like to see him, in games that, especially since games that matter moving forward here, I'd like to see him in more than just like a mop-up duty out of the bullpen. But, maybe be like what Keegan Thompson was last year and be that multi-inning guy in the middle if, one of your starters is unable to, give you 6 or 7 innings. If he can be that the rest of this year, I think that there's reason for optimism for the bullpen. And, we've talked a lot about Leiter and Merriweather and ALLCITY and, some of these other guys, but his role, if he's going to be in the bullpen, to me is crucial, because I do think that they need someone who can do multiple innings, but in higher leverage. And so they've basically been using him more so in, mop-up duty, or, he came in for Steele start, but the Cubs were up a ton of runs in that start, right? Like, I'd like to see him in a multi-inning role with like a 1 or 2 run lead, or even if it's 1 or 2 runs down or something like that. I know the situation isn't exactly that right now, because we still don't know who's going to be the starter tomorrow. Obviously today you're down 8-0. You don't want to use all your high leverage arms in a game like this, but to me, like, I think his best value they could get out of him if he's going to come out of the bullpen is something like what Keegan Thompson was doing for the Cubs last season. And so, yeah, it was great to see him give 3 solid innings and mop-up duty and continue to build some confidence, because I think for young players like him, confidence is so key.
Agreed.
So, yeah, him and he's probably the biggest good thing out of this barn burner, as one might say, which wasn't a barn burner, but that's the joke.
Yeah, and the chat is debating back and forth about whether Kyle Hendricks is the second best starter. He's not. I'm not saying he isn't pitching as well as their second starter. He's not, if you consider the whole season that Stroman's had, or the whole season that Steele's had. He's not. But that's what I'm saying. He's pitched better than they could have expected, because they expected nothing out of him. They didn't even know if he was going to pitch. So I'm okay with that if you're considering him as a back-end starter when you're building your team this offseason. Some of the pitchers haven't performed to the level you've wanted them to perform this season. That's not Kyle Hendricks' fault.
Right.
He's still your 4 or 5.
I still think Stroh is your second best starter. I know he's been struggling.
No, I agree.
And I know he's on the injured list now, and a lot of y'all just want to be done with him.
And I think Tyone is better than what he has pitched.
Yeah.
I think he's a better pitcher than what we've seen.
I would still put Stroman number 2, and then it's just like kind of a toss-up with Hendricks and Tyone number 3, because we've seen Tyone be pretty good of late. On pregame show, I said last night he was kind of a roller coaster, but he still only managed to give up 2 runs in his, 5 or 6 innings he pitched. And you're hoping that he continues this role that he's on now up into the end of the year, because that matters. Yeah, like they need, considering Stroman on the injured list now, they really are relying a little bit more on Kyle Hendricks and Tyone to be good. And again, if I had the opportunity to throw Kyle Hendricks back out there tomorrow in against the Braves or whoever, in a game that the Cubs really need, I would still throw him out there. To me, again though, he pitches a lot better when he gets that early lead. Like if he was put in a situation today where I felt like the only way he was going to be able to go deep was if there just wasn't all this pressure on him to be perfect. And he was literally perfect for 3 innings. And then, but the Cubs couldn't do anything. I feel like if he would have got a little bit of a lead, there would have been it would have been a much better outing for him. And I don't know. There's no numbers that explain that, but I just feel like when you get him a lead, he's a guy that goes out there, pounds the edges of the strike zone, and gets those ground ball outs, and you can ride for 5 or 6 innings. So, but at the same time, it doesn't. To me, it honestly doesn't even matter who the hell the Cubs throw out there as a pitcher. This Braves lineup is elite.
Why? I mean, you could have thrown out Justin Steele and might have had the same result. I mean,
Yeah.
Lion Man is saying Hendricks has pitched well this season. He's talking about his ERA. That's what I'm saying. 11 of his 13 starts coming into this, he allowed 3 runs or less.
Yeah.
It's a good game. Those might not all be great games, but when you're allowing 3 runs or less, you're keeping your team in the game enough that they could win it.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's all I'm looking for, especially that's all I'm looking for out of any starter, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But it's definitely the back end of your rotation. And so that's why I'm not all down on Kyle Hendricks after one bad game against a lineup that could crush any pitcher if they get it going. Baseball Junkie, Super Chat, $5. CHGO Cubs postgaming as a way of life regardless of the outcome. Luke Cody deserves substantial and life-changing raises in pay. Well, now that's the nicest
Says he'll call
one.
the boss.
That's the
I'll
nicest
give you
one.
Jake's number. You can call him and tell him that I deserve a raise.
Me too.
Call the boss. Should we give out his
Sarah,
phone
too.
number on the show? No, probably not. No, the chat's always good. We have a good time whether we win or lose. There's no beer bat today. Cody won't be chugging any beer. Brennan says, yes, Javier Assad's getting the start tomorrow. We'll talk about that in just a few minutes in the next segment. We do want to update sort of the studio surroundings, what's going on. Ryan Herrera hopefully will be joining us from beautiful historic Wrigley Field with a report from the press box once he gets done working over the clubhouse. An update from right here in our West Loop studios. Naked Man is not out on the deck, but now we have Bikini Girl 2 balconies below. So that's the first time we've seen Bikini Girl. The sun tanning continues on the iron balconies across the street.
That's breaking news, guys.
Breaking news. That's right. Naked Guy has been replaced by Bikini Girl. So,
I considered going out and saying hello, but I was.
We had a show
but
to
then
do,
I was
Cody.
like, we have a show to do, though. So, big of me to come do the show and talk to all you guys. Credit to me.
Barb says she's just glad Cody isn't angry. He's a raging bull.
Listen, like I said, when you lose like this, when it's a blowout, it's a lot easier to take than it is when you lose like 3-2 or 1-run games, because it's just it's a lot easier to look at things in hindsight and how you could have won the game. This game was pretty simple. Hendricks was great for 3 innings, and then the Braves offense acted like what the Braves offense has been all season. And the Cubs offense was completely shut down by Max Fried. Max Fried, when healthy, is one of the best pitchers in the game. I firmly believe the Cubs are on their way up, and next year they should have a team that I don't know if it'll be as good as this Braves team, but they should, with the prospects that got coming up, with the money they can spend this offseason, they can make this roster better and a lot more elite next year or going into next year. But we know what this, as we've talked about all season, we know what this team is. It's if this happens, then they'll have a chance to win games. They'll have a chance to make the playoffs. There's just a lot of questions with this team. And sure, they've played well of late. And so this one kind of hurts just because you have been playing well of late. But, we know the Braves are World Series contenders. And the Cubs are if we get in the playoffs, we'll just be happy about that. And so should the expectations be higher next year? Yeah, absolutely should be higher next year, no matter if they make the playoffs or not. That's the way I look at it. But this Braves team, they've had the same core for a handful of years. They got an MVP candidate. Acuna is probably going to win NL MVP this year. On top of Olsen and Riley and Albies and all these other guys, on top of Spencer Strider leading the league in strikeouts. Now they get Max Fried back. This team's stacked, man. I don't know.
If they aren't one of the final 4 teams left when it's all said and done, I will be shocked.
Yeah.
If they aren't at least in the NLCS, I'll just be – funny stuff happens in baseball, but if they don't make it to the NLCS, it would be a huge failure for that franchise.
Absolutely.
For me, if they don't win the World Series, they're probably considering it a failure.
Probably.
Because that's the type of team they've built.
They've been I mean, the Rays, the way the Rays started the year, when in starting the year 30-9 or whatever it was.
Right.
They stole the show of who the best team in the league was the first couple months. But the Atlanta Braves they've been right there consistently all year as one of the best teams. They're running away at the NL East, the division that was favored by the Mets to win, and they haven't let up. They got a great squad. Now, baseball is baseball, and that just because I'm saying all these good things about the Braves doesn't mean that I'm not bothered by the fact that the Cubs got lost 8-0.
Right.
I guess my expectation for this series is not as nearly as high as it was for the Reds or the Cardinals or the Nationals or whatever. I think the Cubs can still win the next two, but my expectation is them to at least take one.
So let me ask you this, and I'll ask the chat as well. Thanks to everybody that's joined the live chat. We appreciate it. After a loss on a Friday, it's a nice day out. I'm not surprised we don't have 1,000 people in here today, but I am curious, for those of you that are there, does an 8-0 loss to the Braves, with the Brewers now playing the Pirates this weekend, does today's blowout loss to the Braves kill the buzz of the series against the Reds and the work the Cubs have done since the All-Star break?
I mean, I think you're still playing scoreboard watch, so you got hopefully the Brewers and Reds both lose tonight. I don't necessarily think so because the schedule is still very favorable. It's not like we're in the last week of September. We're at the beginning of August. The Cubs just won 3 of 4 against the Reds. They've won 12 of 16 now, right?
Yeah, I mean, they've played really good baseball against some of the teams were garbage teams, but now they just played the first place Reds and turned them into the second place Reds.
Right. And again, yes, they played bad teams, but what if they had played bad against those bad teams? You know what I mean? What's that say?
Right.
Then they sell, and we're sitting here talking about how this franchise took a step back this year, and things are even worse. They played well when they had to play well, so I'm going to give them credit for that. And yes, the schedule favored them, but don't tell me that they haven't beat good teams this year either. So I don't care about any of that. They had been playing well. I'm intrigued to see how they respond tomorrow, especially because the odds are against them tomorrow. Even though Javier Assad's going to start for them, he just pitched 3 days ago. He's probably going to be on a pitch count. You're hoping he gives you 4 innings, and then it's going to be a bullpen day after that, and you hope that he's good enough to keep you in the game those first 3-4 innings, and hopefully the Cubs offense wakes up tomorrow against Elder. To me, the Cubs offense is what's key this entire weekend because they against this Braves offense, they have to somehow, some way keep up.
Yes.
And that's easier said than done.
Stay afloat against the Braves. Jack says an NLCS preview, most likely. Everybody said the vibes are still going. Rachel said vibes never die, Stucky. I hope that's what's going on. And maybe Acuna and Riley and Olsen and some of those guys will go to Lala tonight and forget to go back to the hotel.
Yeah. Colada says the freaking White Sox beat Atlanta 2 out of 3, so how great are they? Well, how many times have we seen basically you can name another team. I mean, shit, it's baseball. Exactly what Stucky said. I don't. That was the first series out of the All-Star break. They were all they're way ahead in their division. They didn't care about that series. But what have they been doing since that series though? They've been playing pretty well. Any team, it's like the Cubs of last year. Remember when the Cubs of last year swept the Mets in September? A Mets team that I think they won 100 games last year. They won all 6 against a Phillies team that somehow went to the World Series. Baseball. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. I do agree with part of the chat. Put the Palatine Pounder back in the lineup.
I agree.
Put the Palatine Pounder and Nico back in the lineup.
I don't know why they don't want it. They won't let Tauchman face lefties on a consistent basis. And the only thing I can come up with is that they still want to give Seiya opportunities against lefties. But the entire Cubs lineup was bad today, but Seiya still just looks lost up there, man. It's at a point where you can see it that it's in his head. Yeah. The confidence is down. He hit a home run the other day, but it was off a position play, and I was just hoping that maybe that was it, that would at least give him some confidence, like just to see something good happen. And it just hasn't really, it's been 2 days since that. Like, I don't know. To me, they have to get Tauchman in the lineup every day. He's one of the hottest hitters on the team right now.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely has to be back in the lineup tomorrow. Tell you what has to be back in your lineup tonight.
Oh,
a trip to Sunnyside.
Oh, yes.
Cannabis dispensary.
Absolutely.
Sunnyside is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality products. Sunnyside has everything you need to elevate your summer. One-stop shopping for all your cannabis needs. No matter where you are in your cannabis journey, easy online ordering and in-store pickup, great transparent loyalty program called Sunnyside Rewards. It's a Sunnyside Summer Friday, and let me tell you who's made me feel like the summertime today. Not the Atlanta Braves. The Cubs did leading up to today. Right all the way up to the third inning. The way the Cubs have played baseball, the way Wrigley Field is giving me the Sunnyside Summer Friday vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Wrigley Field, you could tell, was buzzing today. Wrigley Field the last 5 days is back to being Wrigley Field. Not just a few scavengers walking around with the seagulls hoping to find a win. Wrigley Field had the feel of going to the ballpark, smelling the ballpark, feeling the ballpark, and the excitement of Cubs baseball. So the Cubs have brought back that Sunnyside summer feeling for me.
If I were to choose a player, I would go with Tucker Barnhart. His 41-mile-an-hour fastball really just turned.
37, didn't he hit a 37 or a 39 at the end there? I believe he was into the 30s.
Yeah.
No runs.
No runs.
No runs. What a
career
deal.
ERA of 3, if you were wondering.
Tucker Barnhart, a Sunnyside star. Through August, head to Sunnyside.shop, and use the code CHGO25 at checkout. You'll get 25% off your total order. One use per customer, not stackable with other promotions. That's not only for new customers. Anybody can use that code. Again, CHGO25. Anybody can use it. Pick up everything you need to elevate your summer. Must be 21 or older or an Illinois MedCar holder. Sunnyside.
And while you enjoy your Sunnyside tonight, if you think about going to the game tomorrow, maybe you want to go see the Cubs bounce back perhaps, you head to GameTime. Right?
Yeah.
GameTime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets to all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. I know Corey's going to go see Kendrick at Lala tonight.
Is that Kendrick Lamar?
Yeah,
is
Kendrick
that the
Lamar.
guy's name?
Yeah. Maybe use GameTime to get his ticket.
I'm going to look up who's playing tonight.
With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. As you can see, Luke is on GameTime right now. He's just browsing on the app because it's easy. It's a very easy app to use. It'll show you all the views of every seat at Wrigley Field or wherever you're going to, whatever event you're going to. GameTime is the place for last-minute ticket deals. Forget planning months in advance. GameTime has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. The GameTime guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section in row for less, GameTime will credit you 110% of the difference. It's the fastest-growing ticketing app in the country for a reason. Get images of your seat before you buy so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Buy tickets in the matter of seconds, 2 taps and you're set. Tickets are sent directly to your phone so you never have to dig through your email, which is a very, very, very important thing for me, and I'm sure Luke Stuckmeyer, because I know how he is with technology. Snag the tickets without the stress with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem with code CHGO for $20 off. Download GameTime today. Last-minute tickets. Lowest price guaranteed.
Nice.
Thanks.
I remember last year around this time we were playing on one of the podcasts. I was quizzing people. Is that a Cubs prospect or a...
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Lollapalooza act? Junior Mesa? No, it's a Lala act. It's a Lala act.
Yeah.
Who's the big headliner for Saturday?
I'm not really sure. I've never cared about going to Lolla.
Isn't Odessa going? I know Odessa's headlining one day. I just looked at the lineup the other day, which, by the way, they're selling per day. If you wanted to buy a ticket like yesterday or this morning, it's over $300 per day.
Yikes.
That's horrible. Yeah, horrible.
That sounds about right.
That's why you get after
not
game
even
time.
that good. Yeah,
Game
even
time.
on, I don't know. That's all I have
Sunday
to
is
say.
Red Hot Chili Peppers and Lana
That'd be
Del
good.
Rey.
Yeah, that'd be good.
That's the big finish.
Yeah, and then Billie Eilish was yesterday, which that I would have gone yesterday. Today's lineup, in my opinion, is not good, and tomorrow's is okay.
Billie Eilish is a man or a woman? Woman.
Yeah.
right.
She was wearing a Bulls jersey yesterday.
Really? How
Yeah,
about
she was,
that?
and she did a bunch of promo
Yeah.
stuff with the Bulls mascot.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
Well, anyway, yeah, Corey's going to see Kendrick Lamar tonight.
Yeah, get your
At
tickets to
Thanks to
Cubs
GameTime.
Braves, and then go over this weekend and catch a little Lollapalooza.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kendrick Lamar's definitely going to be, that would be the only person I would see for today. That would be a good show.
So the summer of Mike Talkman, the Palatine Pounder, did not continue today, as Cody likes to say, because he was not in the lineup. We did not
Unfortunately.
see him playing for the Cubs today. Hopefully the Palatine Pounder is back. Robbie agrees with me. Thank you very much. However, tomorrow we know for a fact that the summer of the Ass Man will continue.
The summer of the ass man.
Javier Assad will take the ball and start.
man.
And I know I've seen some people in the chat already saying, I don't know about Assad. It could be a rough setup. It depends on which Javier Assad shows up. Is it going to be Javier Eduardo Assad Ramirez, his real name? Or is it going to be the Ass Man?
Let's hope he's the ass man.
Because
I hope he's the ass man.
in 8 appearances, we talked about how great of a July Cody Bellinger had.
Mm-hmm.
And he did have a great July. And we talked about how bad of a July Marcus Stroman had. Now we know there's a little bit of a hip injury going with that. Javier Assad had his own pretty spectacular July, quietly building up innings without runs. 18 1/3 innings in July. I have 8 appearances, 20 strikeouts, 7 hits, and 1 run. 18 appearances, 1 run. July 1st, 3 innings, no runs. July 8th, 3 innings, no runs. July 14th, 2 innings, 1 run. July 20th, 4 innings, no runs. July 23rd, inning and 2/3, no runs. July 26th, inning and 2/3, no runs. July 29th, third of an inning, no runs. And then here's the one I want to focus on. His last outing, July 31st against the Reds. That was the game the Cubs lost. Okay,
Yep, the one that Stroman started.
he followed up Stroman, and he came in, and that's when we questioned how long, if Stroman, we said at the time, if Stroman keeps struggling or if Assad keeps pitching this way, how long before Assad gets a start somewhere in the rotation? Well, here it is. Stroman's hurt. Assad's going to take the spot, but he went 3 2/3 innings after Stroman left that game against the Reds. No runs. Spectacular. The only thing that I want to focus on here, though, is 3 2/3 innings, no runs is great, but he had 3 walks.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that against the Reds because he got away with it. No runs. He had good enough stuff to strike some guys out, and he had some good fortune as well.
Mm-hmm.
If you walk 3 guys against the Braves, you're going to have the same result that you just saw Kyle Hendricks get with or without walks today. Too many good bats to be walking guys tomorrow. So for me, the number one thing you need to see from Javier Assad tomorrow isn't pinpoint break on stuff. He needs to keep the ball over the edges of the plate. Do not walk guys. Don't give them free bases.
Yeah.
Because if they hit home runs, make sure they're solo home runs.
I liked what he did against the Reds mainly for the fact that he kept the Cubs in the game. Because
Yes.
remember, he came in, the Cubs were down 6-0 or 6-1, and the Cubs didn't complete the comeback, but they lost 6-5. So he kept them in the game. He came in and did his job. And listen, the Braves lineup is great, but the Reds lineup has been pretty good all season too. Is it Braves level? No, but he did go through a pretty good lineup. The Reds put up 9 runs. The game that the Cubs scored 20, they put up 6 runs the day after, only 2 last night. So, the Reds lineup is it is pretty good. So, yeah, it will be interesting to see how he does against this Braves lineup in a starting form. He's done this before. I think if he can go 4 innings, that is a W for the Cubs. Not like that doesn't mean I think the Cubs are going to win because of that. I just think that for the rotation, the setup for the bullpen, that will be everything that you could have asked for Assad is if he gives you 4 innings tomorrow. Maybe more if he keeps the pitch count low, but I assume he's going to be on like a 65, 70 pitch count because he pitched just, Monday? Tomorrow's Saturday.
Do exactly what he did against the Reds. 3-4 innings. Like you said. The other thing that he did in that game against the Reds when Stroman was terrible is he, A, saved the bullpen a little bit, but B, he gave the Cubs a chance to come back and win that game, which they almost did.
Almost.
Thanks to him, they actually had a chance to win those next 3 games and go on and sweep. Like they had a shot because of the way he pitched, and that's all I'm asking for tomorrow. Keep the free passes off the base paths. 3 walks will not cut it in 3.5 innings, or 3 1/3 innings, or 3 2/3 innings. Not a half inning. 3 2/3 innings against a Braves lineup like this. Too many guys can hit home runs, and when you start giving up 2-run homers, 3-run homers, it piles up real fast. So a lot of people in the chat asking, are you a diehard? Barb's actually going with the Ass Man moniker. Well, we appreciate that.
We got 3 thumbs downs. Come on, man.
3 thumbs downs.
Only 32 likes, too. We got 99 people watching. Come on now. We had almost 500 likes the other night.
Got to figure it's a couple of those Braves guys on the way out. Probably.
Even though all we've done is say nice things about the Braves because we recognize that they're better than us. I mean, whatever.
Probably naked South. Guy because I said he wasn't out there anymore. He's probably on his computer now.
Yeah. Now, ideally, if the Cubs can score early tomorrow, Assad can give them 4 innings, ride the bullpen that's been pretty good for you all season, or at least the last handful of months. Maybe they can sneak one out tomorrow. It's going to be tough, though. It's going to be tough.
The Godfather
and Elder is no joke.
Oh no, he isn't. And the Godfather Michael Collada says sorry, but we're screwed tomorrow. Now Collada,
I mean, whatever.
This is what we talked about before the game. The negative energy going into the game. Now we haven't even started. You brought the negative energy in the pregame, Godfather, and now you're carrying it over into game 2 of the series.
Godfather, one might say we could blame Godfather for the loss because he was putting out the negative energy before the game even started. So.
That's what I'm saying. I don't like it.
I'm not saying it, but one might say that that's how it happened. But
I just would like to see tomorrow when I wake up, I would like to see a lineup that was more consistent with what we saw against the Reds.
Absolutely.
And I know, don't get me wrong.
Nico will be back in there tomorrow.
Nico Horner needs a day off at some point.
Yeah.
And if it's got to be against a team, it might as well be against a great team that might beat you anyway.
Yeah.
And I didn't want him taking a day off against the Reds.
It's true.
And I don't want him taking off a day against some of those garbage teams where you need to take care of business. So
right. It's hard. Thing is that Nico's just like he's a guy that this roster, this team can't really afford to give an off day to.
But because it has flaws.
Yeah.
The roster still has flaws.
If you win on a day that you give Nico Horner an off day, it's a huge win. Might as well be 2 wins without actually putting the other win in the win column. But Nico and Dansby are the 2 guys that have to play every day for this team to have a real shot to win games. Now, it didn't matter if Nico was in there today. They lost 8-0 because Kyle Hendricks lost it in the 4th inning, and they couldn't get anything off Max Fried. But the lineup just looks better with Nico Horner in there, right? And obviously, with the way Mike Tauchman is hitting, especially against righties, he's got to be in there. So that's my ask for tomorrow is that Nico, obviously back in there, but Mike Tauchman as well. Those 2 got to be in there at this point in the season with the way that those guys have – the impact that those 2 have made, not only offensively but defensively too. I feel bad for Seiya. I don't know what happened, man. He just looks lost. Like I said earlier, he just looks lost up there. And I haven't given up on him, but we're at a point where these games really, really matter, and you can't afford to try and fix a guy while also trying to win.
Got to move on.
Right.
If you
And I
can't
understand
if you got to keep up.
I understand he's making
behind.
money and all this, but do we care about winning or not? Like, that's just where it's at. I personally think that they should sit Seiya for like 4 or 5 games. Sit him, let him get it mentally clear, and then give him a shot. And that's what I thought they were doing the other day when they sat him. Then they put him back in the lineup the next night. And, sure, he had a homer off a position player. Cool. He hasn't really done much else since coming back, since that one off day. I just think they're at a point where you got to play the guys who are producing right now. And Mike Tauchman's producing, and Nico Horner's been producing for a large majority of the season, especially defensively. And it's, the offense has been there a lot lately too. So.
How about a Braves franchise that you're facing right now? I don't think anybody could argue that against the fact that they're the best team in baseball right now, but the fact that they just replaced Freddie Freeman it felt like a slight. It felt a little bit like letting Rizzo go, but the way they have moved on from that fiasco without missing a beat, it's just...
Well, when you have the A's just handing a guy over, they made a great trade. They got a young guy who is proven to be pretty good at the major league level in Matt Olson, and now he has one of the best hitters in the league. One of the best home run hitters in the league. So.
You see the sign on the live YouTube chat, Shady Rays. Use the code CHGO. Take on the sun with gear built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered for the weather ahead. Premium polarized shades at an affordable price. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that offers world-class products that are just as good as any expensive pair we've ever worn. Durable frames, extremely clear optics for outdoor adventures, and that's not all. Shady Rays offers the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair of sunglasses backed by lost and broken replacements. If you lose or break your pair, even on day one, they told us they'll send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. Wear your Shady Rays with confidence because they have your back long after you purchase them. Together with their customers, Shady Rays is providing much-needed support to nonprofit partners across the U.S. through Shady Rays Impact. From building play sets for pediatric cancer patients to providing young adults with MS the outdoor adventure of a lifetime, Shady Rays is making an impact in your community and others like it now for years to come. If you don't love your Shady Rays, exchange for a new pair or return them for free within 30 days. No risk when you shop. Their team always has your back. And exclusively for our CHGO listeners, pay attention. Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season right now. Go to shadyrays.com. Use the code CHGO for 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try it for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by more than 250,000 people. I got my new pair in the mail, and I'm loving my Shady Rays.
You're almost giving off Maverick vibes, but you need a pair of Shady Rays of the Aviators to go. That would be better.
These Shady Rays right here say, I'm not worried about one loss to the Braves.
There you go.
That's what those say.
I like those vibes. I see Craig in the chat says the Taco Bell Mexican pizza is underrated. I agree. You match that with some Goose Island beer, and you're having yourself a Friday night like I'm going to have. Because I'm now thinking about a Taco Bell Mexican pizza with a 312.
Oh, speaking of 312, CHGO, supported by Goose Island Beer Company. CHGO loves Goose Island because that's Chicago's beer since 1988. The old Goose IPA, 6-time medal winner at the Great American Beer Fest. The Tropical Beer Hug, one of Cody's favorites, the 312 Wheat Ale. We have our fridge here at CHGO stocked with 312s.
Stocked.
Full Pocket Pilsner, one of his favorites to do the old beer bat in after a Cubs win. An everyday beer, and that's what the Brewers are drinking. We have a nice takeover coming up for Cubs baseball against the White Sox on the 16th. We'll be at a Goose Island bar for sure. Grab Ultra Fresh Brewery exclusive beers at Goose Island's original brew house on Clybourne Avenue in Lincoln Park, or from their tap room on Fulton Street in Westtown. Goose Island Beer Company, Chicago's beer. Speaking of Chicago's very own, Chicago's Ryan Herrera awaits at Wrigley Field, patiently waiting for those ad reads.
Patiently.
Look, you want to talk about Sunnyside, summer Fridays, Look at it. He had the Hawaiian shirt out, the black and white Hawaiian shirt. Was ready for a warm day at the ballpark.
It doesn't look like he's in the bathroom this time.
I'm never in a bathroom. Where did that get started?
The chat.
The chat.
The chat always thinks you're in a
Barb's always
bathroom.
concerned that you're in a commode.
Yeah, Barb's always concerned that I go. Barb doesn't want me to go to the south side without Cody next time, apparently.
That's right.
He needs to protect
I wonder why.
Because he's a raging bull. We know. What did Kyle Hendricks have to say after the game? Because Ryan, 9 up, 9 down, and then that fourth inning was, a disaster, obviously.
Yeah, I think one of the things he said is that, after that first 3 innings, they noticed that the Braves pretty much took every first pitch. And I think, looking back on it, I'm pretty sure that whole first time through the order, they took every first pitch. Said that they kind of figured the Braves were going to come out aggressive and come out swinging, tried to maybe counteract that a little bit, and, just wasn't able to get the job done in that fourth inning. I mean, you saw it. I don't think some of those balls were obviously hit, or it was just better hitting than bad pitching. He missed a few spots for sure. Maybe a few too many pitches belt high that the Braves were able to get a barrel off of. But I think it was a lot of the Braves kind of were less aggressive the first time through the order, let Kyle kind of do his thing, and then, came out and were aggressive. And, they are arguably the best lineup in baseball for a reason. In a lot of metrics, they are the best lineup in baseball. They're a tough team, no matter who's pitching, right? If it's Kyle, Justin, Stroman, whoever it is, any of those guys are going to have a tough time against this lineup. Just happened to be Kyle today, and like you said, you kind of tip your cap to a team like that because it's hard to pitch to a lineup like that. So tip your cap to the Braves. Obviously, the Cubs have to go ahead and flush this one, come back tomorrow, and try to do a better job tomorrow.
Yeah. What do we expect out of Assad? We heard Assad has been given the nod. Obviously, we figured that out when Wisniewski, came into the game today. But he's been great in July.
Yeah, he's been really, really good. He's been, I don't have his July numbers or this stretch that he's been on, but he's been pretty good and in multi-inning stints, a lot of them. He only started 1 game this year and it didn't go well for him. So
I have the numbers for you. I don't know they're correct because don't let the facts get in the way of a good story, Ryan. But eight appearances in July, 1 run, 18 and a third innings, 20 strikeouts, 7 hits. I mean,
there you go. Yeah.
What else could you ask for?
Yeah, I think, like you mentioned, as soon as I think I don't know what Ross had in mind going into this. I think he obviously hoped Hendricks would have gone more than 4 innings. So maybe Wisniewski was the plan, and then just needed to cover some innings. And I don't know if he went into today knowing that Assad was going to be the guy or not, but obviously he is. And yeah, he's been a lot better as a reliever. It's going to be interesting to see him start against this lineup again, right? You talk about Kyle or whoever it is, it's a tough lineup. I'm intrigued to see what Javier Assad does because he has been so good in that bullpen role. And, a little while back, David Ross kind of said that Assad felt a little undervalued in that role, the long relief role, because obviously they know he can be more than that. Mm-hmm. So maybe this is somewhat of an audition for him. Can he hop into the rotation if need be? Maybe they can look at it in this way if they so choose. But yeah, Assad's tomorrow, big game, obviously, trying to knot up the series. You saw what that Atlanta lineup can do. They could put up runs and hits and just have a massive inning like that pretty quickly. So interesting to see what Assad's able to do tomorrow.
He seems to sort of embrace, though, the big spotlight. You think about what those games meant for him pitching for Mexico in the World Baseball Classic, and he was
great,
unbelievable for Mexico in the World Baseball Classic. Then the regular season starts, and he just wasn't the same guy, but he's been much better now. Like I said, July was a great month, and if he can recapture that same sort of vibe that he had going in July and also that he had in playing for Mexico, maybe a big Saturday game against the best team in baseball is exactly what gets the juices flowing for a guy like Javier Assad.
That's a good point. I hope so. Because, yeah, what he did for Mexico, specifically against Team USA, was pretty unreal.
Yeah, I mean, certainly nerves weren't involved, so I don't think he's afraid. I don't think he's afraid of going up against a Braves lineup. But that said, this lineup is. Who were they saying? JD was talking about it in the broadcast. He was talking to somebody about the lineup. They're like, I think it was Chipper Jones saying that this lineup's better than the lineups that we used to march out. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just.
This lineup
really,
from 1 to 9 is insane.
It's crazy, right?
They're all above league average hitters, and like not barely. Like Michael Harris, the second, is their 9 hitter, and he's pretty well above league average, like OPS. I think was it Corey maybe that had sent us something not too long ago. Like this is obviously a really good lineup from 1 through 9. There's no real holes there, no matter who's on the mound. So yeah, it's tough. It is obviously a championship caliber lineup, like very much so. It's gonna be tough.
When they added Murphy in the offseason, it was like, like they need him.
Yeah,
you know.
I can't believe Orlando Arcia has turned into a good player, but other than that, the rest of it, I believe.
Ryan, what was? I know there was a lot of talk from Dansby before the game about the Braves. Just what did he have to say about getting to face his old team? He didn't leave on bad terms. He just left in free agency. What did he have to say about facing Atlanta this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, he was obviously really excited. I forgot how he did today. It was 0 for 4 today. He talked about Fried and facing him, and he was excited to see former teammates, guys that he was teammates with last season, as recently as last season. He did mention that it's great and all, but then as soon as the game starts, like the competitive juices are going to be flowing. I don't want to say you couldn't tell because obviously Dansby Swanson wants to win every game, but it's just like it's tough, right? He had a tough time. Max Fried's a really good pitcher. David Ross was very complimentary of what Max Fried did on the mound today. He said Fried is an ace, pitching like an ace today. But for Dansby, he didn't leave Atlanta on bad terms. Just kind of talked about how much thought and prayer he put into the decision that he made this offseason. Was excited, obviously, to face Atlanta. It's not the same as going back to Atlanta. I think that would be maybe a little bit more emotional for him going back to Atlanta and then playing at his former ballpark. But, seeing the guys across the way, right? First time he's playing the Braves in his major league career, facing former teammates on the mound or on the field. Yeah, that's a cool story, but I think for Dansby, it's like that doesn't matter because at the end, like when the game starts, it's like that's just another team that he's trying to beat, right? So you go in there, catch up with his guys, say hi, whatever. But then as soon as the ball is thrown the first time, like he's trying to win that game.
Did we have there wasn't an update or anything on Tauchman? Was there any talk of him not being in line? I know Nico obviously was a day off because he just hasn't had one, but I just felt like now that the game has played out, in hindsight, I look back and say, wow, they missed the spark of both those guys.
Nico was just a day off. I think either all or at least a majority of the days he's had off this season were because he was on the IL. Like he hasn't really had a day off, and guys need a day off, right? Guys don't really play 162 anymore. For Tauchman, there was no talk about. I mean, there was a lefty on the mound. Seiya's got to play. This is maybe a spot that they want to try to get Wisdom in there. Playing first base against a lefty, or playing first base and also hitting against a lefty. I think it was just kind of the matchup, and I don't know. Maybe does he provide a spark, Tauchman, if he's in there? We'll never know. But we also saw how well the Braves pitched today against them. 4 hits for the entire lineup. Like, I don't think Tauchman saves the lineup today. Maybe provides a spark, gets them a run or something. But, in hindsight, the lineup, whatever Ross did with the lineup, like the Braves were coming out looking like the better team.
Oh, Max Fried didn't look rusty, that's for sure. But the summer of Mike Tauchman cannot be denied.
No. Even Ryan confirmed it last night.
Ryan confirmed
the Tauchman jersey. That was the first Tauchman jersey that I've seen in the wild. It was right in front of me. I'm like, all right, it must really be the summer of Mike Tauchman.
Credit to me.
And I've seen some people in the chat now today saying they're going to the ballpark. I think Fernando was one of them. Hey, wear your CHGO gear.
Yeah.
And when you get it and you wear it, take a shot, tweet it out to us.
Yeah.
So we can retweet it for you. Go to the CHGO
Repost
locker
it as X
right
calls
now.
it now.
Got a lot of shirts out there. We got a new one, Sweet Emotion. One to check out.
It's a good one.
I always like this one, the script, the old Bull script
Wearing
one.
the flag. Yeah.
Bull script.
Shout out to Matthew Gregory who bought our shirt. He confirmed it with us this morning.
Sweet Emotion, yeah.
The
He
Sweet
bought it this
Emotion
morning.
one. Yeah.
Ryan, what else? Anything else? Any nuggets you got to tell us before you go? We know you have a luau to get to before the end of this thing.
I want to we didn't have a show yesterday, obviously, so wasn't able to bring that up. But and Morel didn't play today, so it's not like he he did, but he wasn't in the starting lineup, so he didn't factor in a whole lot. But I think one thing we haven't really talked about much is the plate discipline that Morel has developed recently or this season. David Ross talked yesterday a lot about the walks he's been taking, and then he talked about that pregame, and then Morel goes out and takes a big time walk. I don't remember if it was a game tying run at some point yesterday, that one inning against the Reds, and taking that game time walk. And so it's not specifically about this game, but I think I want to see how Morel does this series against a really good team, obviously up and down, really good team, and see where that discipline and that plate approach that's constantly improving, see where that kind of takes him this series. This is sort of just a litmus test in a way for the whole team. You're facing the best team in the majors. How do you match up with them? It is a good test, a really good test for the entire team. A young guy like Morel who's having a really good season. How does he fare against the best that baseball has to offer? I'm curious to see how that goes.
Very good. I mean, I agree. He's definitely made strides at the plate this season, and I think he's made strides defensively too.
I said on our postgame show with Corey the other night that he has so much Javi Baez in him, but the one thing that he has that's better than Javi Baez that I think you can see is the plate discipline. Yes, he still strikes out 30% of the time, but he also will take a walk, and that's something that Javi Baez, we would joke about, was a massive surprise if that would happen. Morel, I think he's still a little bit below league average in terms of walk rate, but I do think we've seen him take more walks than just based on what we've seen with our eyes. We've seen him take a lot more walks than what we ever really have with Javi Baez. So if he can do that while also continue to hit with power and work counts and, maybe, just maybe, cut the strikeout rate a little bit, then you got yourself an all-star caliber player one day.
Who you got's coming up in just a second. Quick super chat from Grapefruit.
Grapefruit?
Yeah, saying Shohei Senga from Pacific League with IT company owners loving sabermetrics. Fukudome, Seiya Sugo are from Central League owned by old newspaper companies.
So that explains everything on why Seiya has struggled for 2 months, guys.
Baseball Junkie with another super chat for today. That's the second one today. This one, $10. This is my first summer following CHGO Cubs. Just want to thank you guys for making me feel like family and so appreciate it. Thank you for valuing us every day. Blue collar fans, love the way you guys do it. Thank you.
Hard hat, lunch pail, guys.
Baseball Junkie, we love you, man. We love all the people in the chat, super chat or not. We love everybody that's joined us, and pretty good crew after a tough loss.
Yeah.
You get shut out and pounded like you did today. It kills the buzz a little bit, but everybody in the chat said no. Yeah. They're not giving up hope. All right, Ryan. Who you got? Go ahead.
I was going to say, I actually don't think that last little part, I don't think this really kills the buzz, I think.
No, the chat told me it doesn't.
Yeah, I think if they had split that series against the Reds, maybe you're not feeling great, but I think you go into this week, you felt good about a 3-4 homestand against the first place team in your division and the best team in baseball. They got 3 of those wins against the Reds, right? And they don't want to get swept by the Braves, but dropping this one again to a really good team, best lineup in baseball. I don't think it kills the buzz because before the trade deadline, every game's under a microscope. Every game. Maybe the players themselves are talking about not feeling the pressure, but the fan base certainly is. Now you lose a game against the Braves, you get stomped by the Braves. Sure, it sucks, but now you got 2 months, right? You're not looking at the trade deadline and saying we only got a few games left to go. Right? Your Cubs fans can sit back and know they got 2 months. Hopefully, obviously, the Cubs can pick up at least a win against the Braves and see what they do the rest of the way. But like, you're not looking at a trade deadline anymore and potentially waving the white flag. You still got 2 months of baseball to play. I think that's a good thing, and just keeping that perspective, right? Like, I don't think this loss really kills the buzz, in my opinion.
To me, the Cubs need to win one game this weekend. I think
that'd be
that's
satisfactory. I think
I would be okay
if you're realistic.
it would suck to lose the series and end the homestand with a little bit of on a downer, but yeah, this Braves. I know they won 8-0.
The Pirates could do you some favors.
Yeah, sure.
Pirates could do you a favor.
I just think that this Braves team is they're way better than what we saw from the Rays or the Orioles or even the Dodgers in some aspects. We'll see. I hope I'm wrong, but I will take one win this weekend. I'll be content going with the Mets and the Blue Jays next week on the road. I'd feel pretty good going into next week if they at least win one this weekend.
All right, let's get to who you got. And I had Dansby Swanson, so I know I didn't win.
I had Seiya, which I'm being told because he was in the Central League in Japan that the Cubs should have never paid him, even though he was really good last year. But
Ryan tried taking Dansby. He tried taking Seiya. He ended up with Jamer. And I guess Corey wins because Bellinger had
2 hits.
Yeah.
2 of the, 4 hits? Did they end up with 4 hits? Is that right?
We ended up with 4 hits.
4 hits.
Belly had 2 of them.
Belly had 2 of them. I would say that's a pretty easy decision for us on who you got this time around. One more quick question. I do want to ask you about Shady Rays, if you're going to be wearing them this weekend, because I assume you are. Ryan, Barb wants to know if you're going to Lollapalooza, and if you are going, might you wear your Shady Rays?
If I were going to Lollapalooza, I totally would be wearing my Shady Rays.
Right.
I actually had my Shady Rays on earlier on the field pregame, just kind of hanging out, showing off. People are looking at me like, "Wow, those sunglasses are really cool." And I'm like, you know what? Go to Shady Rays.
Yeah, Cody had him on earlier, and we couldn't figure out why, and then we realized that underneath Naked Guy, there's now Bikini Girl across the way on a deck, and
I was gonna go.
He wasn't looking, but he was looking.
I was gonna go say sup, but then I remembered we have a show to do. Again, big of
Unlike
me to
the
come on
pregame
the
show
set
that he
and do
was
the
late
show.
for. He was here on time.
We'll see if I change my mind after the show.
All right, tell us about
Maybe
Shady
I'll
Rays.
have to put my Shady Rays on
Tell
so
us
I
about
can,
Shady
I
Rays,
can hide
Shady.
my nervous face. Take on the sun with gear built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered for the warm weather ahead with premium polarized shades at an affordable price. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that offers a world-class product that's just as good as any expensive pair. We've worn durable frames and extremely clear optics for outdoor adventures. That's not all. Shady Rays offers the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair of sunglasses is backed by lost and broken replacements. If you lose or break your pair, even on day one, they told us they will send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. Wear your Shady Rays with confidence because they have your back long after you purchase. Together with their customers, Shady Rays is providing much-needed support to nonprofit partners across the U.S. through Shady Rays Impact, from building playsets for pediatric cancer patients to providing young adults with MS the outdoor adventure of a lifetime. Shady Rays is making an impact in your community and others like it now and for years to come. If you don't love your Shady Rays, exchange for a new pair or return them for free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop. Their team always has your back. Exclusively for everyone in the chat and anyone listening, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Go to shadyrays.com. Use code CHGO for 50% off. 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try yourself the shades, rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people.
What if Bikini Girl actually turned out to be Barb in the chat?
Whoa.
Wouldn't that be something?
That would be a wild turn of events, considering
would be
she
a
told
wild
us
turn
she
of
was
events.
83, but I don't know.
83. Ryan, quickly tell us what you have for us coming up at allchgo.com.
We got a few things in the works. Talking, like I mentioned, the Morel and his maturity at the plate. Maybe something coming on there. A little bit on Cody Bellinger, and the pitch doctors is sending me some pitching questions to be asking the pitching coaches about. So we got things in the works. We got a lot of content. The Cubs are on a roll right now. The people want the content, so we got some good stuff coming.
Cranking it out. All right,
Crank it
make
out.
sure you sign up to be a diehard at allchgo.com. You get discounts and you get all the access to Ryan's great articles. And Barb says, yes, she is indeed 83. Thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs postgame show podcast. Yeah?
She asked if we're on tomorrow or earlier, and I just want to say that we are not.
We are not on tomorrow. Brendan and Corey will be here, however, on Sunday. And Matthew, yes, this was live. Soon it will not be live. 8-0 Braves. Thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs podcast. Thanks for checking out the live chat. We'll see you next time. Until then, fly the W.